Golfers, Joe here from ATL Golfs. So excited to welcome you to the first ever podcast. But you actually won't be listening to a lot of my voice. I'm going to hand things over to Andrew here, who's going to be the voice of the Atlanta Golfs podcast. I met Andrew during a round at Town Lake Hills, and we connected and have been fast friends ever since. He's a golf nut, loves playing, and I was excited to channel that excitement and passion and energy into this podcast. So welcome, Andrew. I'm excited to see what you can do with this thing.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrew. Just like Joe said, I met him through pretty much Instagram. The threads. I was scrolling through Instagram late night one night, and I just saw ATL Golfs pop up, and he was just a small little guy at that time, and it just said, "Hey, does anyone want to play around at Town Lake tomorrow?" And I was like, I'm always just down to meet people and just play some golf. I'm an absolute nut. Play, on average 6-7 rounds a week, 6-7. And so I messaged him right away, and we got a round in. And I remember that first tee, he pipes one 300 yards. I feel like I play a lot. I just started playing like a year and a half ago, but I'm like a 30 handicap at the time. And, in my head, I'm just thinking, what did I get myself into? But that kind of blossomed into a beautiful friendship. We play a lot of rounds of golf together, talk a lot of golf all the time. And so he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I want to do an ATL Golfs podcast, and I want you to be the host of it." And immediately I said yes. I was super, just happy that he had asked me and, acknowledged me and saw the passion in my eyes. So, yeah.
Definitely. So with that said, Andrew, what's kind of what's your vision? I know you've done a lot of work and planning and done a great job already, but kind of give folks an idea of what to expect from the ATL Golfs podcast moving forward.
Well, for the most part, just kind of following in your steps, basically, of, the biggest frustration in golf right now, especially in the Atlanta area, is that, like, I have no idea what the course conditions are going to be like. I want to know what kind of amenities they have, and just Golf Now and Google don't do it enough justice, I think. People can be very biased on their reviews. While when I first found your Instagram page, it's very fair, pretty critical, but enough to where I could understand and, relate to what your criterias were. I'm not too worried about, I'm not going to be super biased and give it a 1-star review just because of this and that or one bad experience. And so just continuing that into the reviews of just giving fair reviews on golf courses, talking about news in Atlanta, and just everything that covers Atlanta golf.
Love it. Well, let's jump into today. What course will you be reviewing for us?
Well, so I had a chance to play the Fields. It was probably 2-3 weeks ago. Everyone kind of knows about it, kind of a hidden gem. Doesn't show up on Golf Now, so you kind of do have to be a golf nut to know about it, honestly, too. And so went there on a Tuesday. Really nice, quiet weekday. Super cheap, really, really cheap. It was like $30. I bought a logo ball, so it ended up being like $40. Went at like 10 a.m. Right when I get there, it's like an hour drive basically from where I live in Smyrna. Wasn't too bad of a drive. You just zoom down 85 so you can go 85 miles per hour, and customer service right from the get-go was awesome. There's a sweet lady there. There's an awesome dog. His name is Ace. I was pleasantly surprised to see him. He will steal your snacks, I was told. So keep all your food in your cart, and even then in your cart, you can sneak in there.
More courses need course pets. I think that should be a thing. Maybe I'll add that to my reviews where I'll do course pet yes or no because I think that really elevates.
It does. It adds to it in its own way of just like, oh, what a pleasant surprise, and he's super sweet the whole time. So I was just super glad to see him. Pull up
so you get there, you pull up. You said the hospitality. What were some of the hospitality little things? Because for me, when I'm doing my reviews, no matter what I'm paying for, I'm always looking for those little touches that just add to the overall experience.
Well, so I think there's like 2 different types of golf courses. The ones you show up and, you give a member number or they ask you what's your tee time, and super professional, right? And not saying this wasn't professional, but mostly more just like country hometown feel of a golf course where you just come in, they say, "Hey, how are you?" They ask you your tee time, obviously, but it's kind of just no starter or anything like that. And just really sweet. Just feels like you're hanging out with your friend's parents or something and they're checking you in for something. That's what I really liked about it is just you feel comfortable right away. You don't feel the stress of, is my outfit correct? Am I, crossing my T's? Am I dotting my I's kind of feel? It's just very, very comfortable and relaxed.
Yeah, that's great. And what I always like to talk about is there's room for both, right? There's room in the golf sphere, and I like different things at different times. Sometimes I want to go to the nice club and make sure my shirt's tucked in and know all the etiquette and that sort of thing, and have that experience. And then sometimes I like going to a place like what it sounds like the Fields is, and relax and just have a really great time where I don't have to be too worried about the overly emphasize etiquette type things. So that's great. What you mentioned before that sometimes I could be a little critical. And that's true. I don't like to do puff pieces. I do try to find things to make people aware of. Set expectations correctly. What were some of the things that were a little disappointing or not quite up to what you would expect going into that round?
I think so. I discovered the Fields due to the Georgia Golf Company. I don't know if you remember that reel being posted. And, the way they talked about it, it seemed like it was going to be immaculate. I thought it was going to be like country club conditions. And, I don't want to knock it too hard, but it wasn't. It was, there's a lot of places that don't have a cart path. So those get really run down. The cart path itself wasn't, the smoothest ride in the world. Um, so, if you hit a ball into the fairway, you could end up in a dry patch, super tight lies where you're kind of just looking at it and you're like, that kind of stinks. I hit a great shot, but I'm in the worst lie possible.
Makes sense. And yeah, that's sometimes the videos, right? And those types of things can sometimes paint. It's only so much you can get from a video or drone footage until you really play a spot. And so I'm curious because I know for me, whenever I'm depending on how much I pay, right, will determine kind of how much or what my expectations are. So it sounds to me like you kind of had two different expectation makers. One is a sort of highlight video that you saw from Georgia Golf Co. And the other is sort of, hey, I just paid $30 to go play. So how did that balance for you as you were kind of playing the course?
Oh, well, $30, like that's a steal anywhere you go, especially in Atlanta. Um, LaGrange might not be considered Atlanta, but close enough of a drive. But for $30, I mean, can't compare. It's you get out there and it's just the layout is beautiful. The high fescue is like really great, and there's just something about it where you just get out there and it doesn't really matter. Like I was super happy to pay $30, especially to play that course in that kind of condition. And I don't know about you, but I get out to courses and I'll see it, and if it's in bad condition, it's sometimes it can be frustrating because you can see that there's so much potential behind it, but that's all I see with the Fields is the potential behind it.
Nice. And so, what would you have paid, having played it now? Um, what would be the maximum amount that you would be comfortable paying and be like, okay, I got what I paid for that round.
I Dude, honestly, I'd probably pay $60. I think.
Wow. Okay.
I
So you're getting basically double value
Yeah,
basically for
I'd
what you got as far as the course goes.
I'd probably happily pay $60 because I'm not saying the course conditions were bad. They were better than average, but there's something when you get out there, there's I don't know if they're, pumping like nitrogen into the air or something, but the whole time you're playing, it's so fun. The layout is so quirky and so interesting that, you know, if you hit a bad shot, you hit a bad shot, but you definitely can get punished because again, that high native grass they have all on the sides of everything. Um, but maybe I was in a good mood or something, and so even if I hit a bad shot, it was whatever. I have some videos at the end that I'm gonna put on the end of this podcast where you see some bad shots. But I still had a great time. The bunkers were in great condition. The greens were super super fast. And my biggest gripes were just really the fairways and then the tee boxes. But I'm a real stickler for tee boxes if they're not even or if they're too long. And that's what I was kind of coming into.
You mentioned a couple times kind of just the vibe. What would you say is that the most kind of unique thing about it, or if you had to kind of lay out what's the most unique thing about playing at the fields versus maybe other places you play? What would be some things that stick out?
I think it's just like the vastness of it too. Is there's nothing else around you. You're driving into the countryside of LaGrange, Georgia. Me growing up in Newnan, like I know exactly how that is. Is just I hate when I'm a big slicer, so I hate when there's houses on the right or the left or anywhere on the course, just because I have this fear that I'm gonna hit it over there. But if you're not opposed to losing balls and you don't really care, like you can kind of spray it everywhere and just have a good time still. Just take a happy little drop. If you're not too concerned about score and things like that either.
Yeah, I can imagine from speaking as a typical Georgia golfer, wide open space is not the typical, right? We usually have fairways lined by
100%.
trees and leaves and everything else. And so whenever you get somewhere that's a bit more open, even like probably the best example would be like Bobby Jones, right, where you can kind of spray it around and not have to worry too much. But having a whole course like that, I imagine that felt just so freeing versus, all right, which tree is this ball going to hit?
Well, yeah, and so everything's so spread out too. It's definitely not like a walkable course. I did see one walker out there because I was considering walking it. Especially with the style of it. It's supposed to be, that link style course. Definitely not walkable like Bobby Jones is, and definitely not as packed as Bobby Jones is. I mentioned again, it's not on Golf Now, so you kind of have to be a golf nut to know about this place. It took me, I mean, I've been golfing for a year and a half, but with how obsessed I was surprised I didn't figure out about this golf course sooner. And so it's not as packed as Bobby Jones is, so you can kind of just spray it everywhere and not be concerned, which I loved.
Of course, yeah. Bobby Jones, you're not concerned about hitting a tree. You're concerned about hitting someone's kid or
Yeah,
someone,
100%.
someone
Yeah,
else, on the fairway that's facing right at you, or something like that. So yeah, totally get that. Well, everyone, as you know, my reviews, we love doing kind of scores. So would love to kind of run down a list of scores and see where you would kind of place, some of the, how you would score based off of your experience. So let's kind of
100%.
let's run down it.
Yeah.
So first thing I usually like to highlight, we'll do pace of play.
Pace of play was kind of bad actually when I was out there. Took me, I think, a little bit over 4.5 hours. Um, had some slower groups. I actually had a fivesome behind me that hit into me. I was like on a hole 8 or 9, and I'd hit over a hill, and I'm sitting in the cart waiting for the twosome in front of me to finish. And all of a sudden, I hear this golf ball hit the back of my cart. So that was a little scary.
So
Yeah,
you hit your card.
yeah, hit my cart.
Oh,
I mean, I scream, "Oh shit!" And just I turn around, I look at the guys, and I'm just put my hand up. So pace of play wasn't the greatest, but I think I just got caught into a weird tee time. Um,
hmm.
you know, I would still, even with the pace of play, I'd still happily play it again. I'm kind of used to
That's
four and a
surprising.
half hour rounds.
That's surprising because you would think, again, with it kind of being out in the boonies and, again, not on Golf Now, that, it'd be pretty spread out. So, I don't know, did it seem like that the course is packed out, or did it seem like you were just kind of happened to get unlucky with the
I
tea
think
time?
I think I just got kind of unlucky with the tee time. Um, there's a lot of locals that play there, and so I think there's a lot of retired guys out there who play the early morning tee times. I got out there at like 10 a.m. and so on a Tuesday, so most people would probably be working during that, and so just not to bash the old guys, just slower pace of play because of that probably.
Makes sense. Now, just to remind folks, when we're scoring, I think something to keep in mind is we're not going to compare. A 10 isn't Peachtree in this example, right? It's all based off of it's handicapped by the price point. So 30 to I think what you said on the weekends. What's the weekend rate?
Weekend rate is about $40 or $50 on the weekend.
$50, so 30, $50. So, when we go layout, we're not comparing it to whatever, something that's $250. We're comparing it to another course that would be in that sort of $30 to $50 range. So for you, layout wise, where would you rank it 1 through 10?
Yeah. Oh man, for the price point, I'd give it a solid 7.5, 8. The layout was just super fun. It's not biased towards anyone right-handed or left-handed. You do have to hit a couple draws here and there, or fade it a little bit here and there. Not like I can, but the straight shot's always going to benefit you here. But yeah, I think the layout's solid 7 or 8.
What was your favorite hole?
Probably hole 3, just because I played it really well. Hole 2, I
Does it happen,
played.
right? Our favorite holes tend to be the ones that we actually play decent.
Well, it was awesome. So, they're doing course maintenance while I'm out there on a Tuesday. And so the guys are watering the fairways or watering the tee box too. So I'm in this like muddy kind of lie for a second in the tee box. And I asked the guys working, I'm like, you guys think where do you guys think this ball is going, straight, right? Or, I told them I don't draw the ball, so left is not an option. They both gave me, being very polite. They're like, probably straight. And I was like, all right, we'll see. It's about 260 yards, super downhill, probably, another 30, 40 yards downhill. And then you have pretty much 60, 70 yards to the green right of that. So you kind of do have to be dialed in. It's all downhill, so it can roll off. Bunch of woods and just, OB on the right side. And so I just get up there with 3-wood, knock it 260 perfectly right to where it says carts exit here. Then I had that 60, 70 yards with a wedge. But that was probably my favorite hole. It's a weird, quirky hole, which I love. I love weird, quirky holes. And so, I knock that. I pull out a 58, knock it short, chip it short again, and, played the whole rest of the hole terribly. But the tee shot is what always gets me. I think I'd have to give another honorable mention to hole 10. It's a little bit of a longer one. It's another pretty much 260 yards down. And then you kind of have to go over all this like fescue grass and then like a little small lake or river that runs through it like a creek. But just beautiful holes. I love anything where you're looking down and there's a huge vertical drop. So I think those are my 2 favorite holes.
Awesome. You kind of talked a little bit about tee boxes. What would you rate the tee boxes?
For the sake of the price, I'd give them a solid 5. They were longer than average, which, maybe just due to the growing season, but they were relatively even. So I can't even knock that. So relatively even, but they're not traditional tee boxes, not tons of grass, very, sparse, dry, lots of dirt. And so give it a solid 5 for the price point. I've definitely paid more and had worse tee boxes that I've played in Atlanta.
Right on. Fairways.
Fairways, I give them a solid 7. I understand why they're the way they are, just because they don't have a lot of cart path. But honestly, I think that's part of the fun of the fields is that like you'll get off the tee box and the cart path disappears, and now you're just driving out into the fairway. But I don't know about you guys, but driving in the fairway is one of my favorite things. Like I hate 90-degree rule. I love to just drive the cart and rip it along and just have some fun with it. It's just, it's like the little kid in me. Like I love go-karts and just stuff like that. So give them a solid 7 for that.
Yeah, for me, I think an underrated golf course feature is cart paths that blend in well, right? Not the black asphalt that sticks out. I love the dirt ones that lead into the fairway and then disappear until you get up to the green. I think cart paths can be an eyesore. So
I think cart paths can be an eyesore, and then yeah, I agree. Everyone talks about cart path love, but I don't know about you, but every time I hit a cart path, it's going OB, it's shooting left or right. I love that there's not extra cart path that you have to worry about.
Definitely. Greens.
Oh, the greens are like a 9, dude. 9 out of 10 and then rolling it like a 14. I love fast greens. I swear they're super fast. The pin placements were crazy. Some of them were brutal. And some people might not find that fun, but I love crazy pin placements, going back to the quirky part of it. I love things where it's challenging and it's not normal. I don't ever complain and go, oh, that pin placement super all legal. I'm like, man, that's a crazy pin placement. That's super fun. And so the greens were beautiful. They were perfect. I think they had just been punched a couple weeks ago, so they were rolling really well. I think one thing in the summer that's tough is greens can be slow at most courses. I feel like because they're obviously letting a lot of the Bermuda grow up or the bent grass grow up, so that it stays cool. But they had them rolled super fast, and I loved it. So solid 9.
Um, Bunkers. Did you find yourself in many bunkers there?
Gosh, I did, yeah. Uh, hole 2. I'm gonna keep talking about hole 2 because that's gonna be the video at the end. But hole 2 ate my lunch, dude. And so the bunkers were great. Definitely tons of sand, so you're not gonna have to worry about. I don't know, some bunkers in Atlanta. It's this much, like a centimeter of sand, and then for some reason underneath there's all these pebbles or it's just concrete for some reason. Bunkers were a solid 8. I think they could have been raked pretty a lot better in the mornings or something like that. But for the most part, yeah, great bunkers. Can't complain. I hate them, but good bunkers. If I have to be, non-biased about how the bunkers are.
Yeah, you already have a negative connotation towards the bunkers. Was the sand kind of more packed, or was it a little bit more fluffy?
Definitely more fluffy. Tons of sand. Definitely fluffy sand. So got to swing hard. I learned that after the first swing. Um, Nothing sucks worse than hitting a bunker shot and still in the bunker on the second. So definitely fluffy, not packed down at all.
Great. I'm a fluffy guy. I prefer a nice little fluff. I like to be able to swing hard and know that the ball's not going to fly away. Packed bunkers, they give me some trouble. So,
Oh my gosh.
value. So what you get for what you pay? Where would you rate the value?
Oh, it's a 10. It's got to be a 10. Yeah, it's got to be a
Wow.
10 for me. Well, I mean, $30 on a weekday. So I get to golf a lot during the weekdays because I work in restaurants. So I have weird schedule. I work a lot on the weekends. So I get all my errands done and all my chores done during the weekday. And then, I reward myself with some golf. And so I got to give it a solid 10, especially if you're able to get out there on a weekday. I know that's tough for most people. Um, but even for $50 on the weekend, I can't. Golf has gotten so expensive in Atlanta that it's going to be hard to find anything under $60 on the weekend in Atlanta. And then they obviously have twilight tea times where they get down to 40 on the weekend. And so can't really knock that price. The value is just great. Um, yeah, I can't think of any other course where you could pay $40 and get or $50 and get what you get out of the fields.
Nice. I don't even think I don't think I've given it 10 out of 10. Yeah, but I've always kind of saved it. Even the great ones, I'm like, there might be something better out there. So I'm always saving the 10 out of 10. So I'll
Oh,
have
really?
to.
For even
I'll have to get down there.
value?
I'll have to get down there, man.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it
Dude,
out.
they've got to be like pumping nitrogen into the air or something because I might have had too much of a good time. And I'm definitely been a rager before where, we'll talk about it soon, but just Steel Canyon, the value of it's great, but the course conditions are not worth it, in my opinion. So we'll talk
Yeah,
about that
I would.
soon too.
We'll talk about Steel Canyon because I think we might have some disagreements. I would say the value is not. We'll get into that little teaser for the folks at
Yeah.
home for our next episode there. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to mention about the course that we didn't get into? Anything interesting about it?
Um, you know, I'm kind of glazing the fields right now. First episode, obviously I could pull a David Portnoy where, early on just give too high of ratings. And so they might be skewed a little bit, but I think for everyone, it's definitely worth a shot and definitely worth the drive to get down there. I was super sad that you weren't able to make it out with me that day. Especially once I started playing. Um, but I would definitely say get out there. The course is constantly changing. If you guys follow them on Instagram, you'll see that Ashley, the guy who owns it, and he's also the superintendent, just does tons of work on it. Just me and Joe were talking about it. Just in the past week, they've renovated 2 or 3 holes. They've expanded greens and just. I've never seen a golf course. I follow a lot of the golf courses on Instagram. I've never seen someone be so transparent and be so just give you such a behind the scenes look of a golf course, which if you're a golf nut like me and all you do is think about golf, you'll love following them and seeing it in action And so just getting out there and being able to see all the work that they've put in has been really, really fun. Um,
Yeah, I know one thing they've added that obviously got a lot of fanfare is their new range. Did you get to kind of play around with the new range that they got set up?
yeah, the TrackMan was super cool. Obviously, you're hitting off mats, but they're expanding out again. So they're taking they have all this like extra grass that they're growing to expand, and they're going to level it out. If today on their Instagram, actually, they're talking about it of getting grass tees. Um, but the range itself, it's okay. Um, Range balls were kind of a mismatch of balls and whatever, and the distance is interesting, but you can't beat TrackMan that's included in the range.
Yeah. Was there a grass portion of the range that you could have gone on and not had to use mats in the TrackMan?
Not the day that I was there. It was mats only that day. And so I'm not sure if they open it up on the weekends. But I know they're working on it. So I guess in the future that they will have. And it's going to be huge.
Nice. I think actually I reached out to them one time asking if there was grass portion in the range. I think they said yes. So obviously, if they're making a note of mats only, that means there's probably times where it's not mats only. So we can assume that they probably have some grass that you can head off of as well during the week. Range balls, were they included? Did you have to pay a little extra? Do you remember what you paid for the range balls?
Range balls were extra. I just got a small bucket. And I don't remember exactly how much they cost. Because I'm not a big range guy. I don't like to warm up before my rounds, and so I think I hit a small bucket and I hit like half of them, and then I'm more of a chipping and rolling putts kind of guy, um, and just leave the rest of it out on the course.
Nothing wrong with it. Um, Andrew, I know you're a bit of a history buff as well. You kind of looking into sort of the course, how it came to be. Was there anything you found in your research?
Um, yeah, it's super cool. So Mike Young, that's actually so the owner of it now is Ashley, but Mike Young is his dad, and so Mike Young had built it for some guy in town, and they they had it whatever for a little bit, and they asked Mike to come back and renovate it and fix it up a little bit and help manage it, basically. And then they sold it to another guy in town, and Mike kind of just saw that it wasn't being managed correctly. They did this deal basically where they'd lease it to him for a little bit, and then eventually he would be able to purchase it. And then it was passed down to Ashley. But I think the history of it just being it was Mike Young's first course ever built. It was built in 1988. And then now that it's been passed down and swapped hands and it's back into the family's name, I think that's like the coolest part of the history. Just knowing that it's locally owned, it's not owned by a city or anything like that. It's privately owned, and they still just keep it so public, and they're really focused on the golfer themselves. Um, it's not pretentious, and so I think that's what like is really cool about it. Um,
I think that family owned aspect is probably why it just feels different, right? I mean, what other golf course is there around here that's literally owned by the person that designed it, right? At least around Atlanta Public Golf. I mean, I'm sure it exists. I just don't know personally, and so that extra personal touch, the transparency that they're able to provide on social media, like we've been talking about, I think there's something to be said about that family connection being passed down, caring about it like it's your own because it is your own, and not just that you own it, but a piece of your dad is also connected to the course. I mean, that's got to be something that is a rudder for how they want to approach things and how they want to just the overall decisions and strategic things they're going to be doing for the course. I mean, that has to be a big part of it.
yeah, it has to be just priceless to be able to continue your dad's legacy and just work on a passion project that your dad has had and continuing his legacy, basically.
Awesome. Well, anything else on the fields?
Um, no, I think it's one of those courses that I definitely want to review again, and we got to get out there and play. It's a gem. It's a long drive, so I'm dying to go back. I might actually go back later this week. I'm gonna see if I can have some time. I was thinking about going today, but obviously we're recording, and so time running a little long. But no, on the fields, I think that's pretty much it. I'm a 24 handicap. I shot a 99 out there, so it's definitely a gettable course. Played from the white tees. Um, you can break 100 out there if you're semi decent or bad like me even. And so and that's playing with real rules. You take +2 when you go OB if you drop into the fairway. That's how I think about it. Joe, I saw you on your Instagram. You posted something with Shelton from Whoop'em Wednesday, ATL Swing King. Just wanted to know more about the episode that's coming out soon, very soon, shortly after we drop this. And so just I've met Shelton a couple times at John A. White. I've been following him for a while, just being a golf nut, always YouTubing Atlanta golf. And so he jumped up there right away and I started watching his videos. So just curious about how your experience was with him and if you had played John A. White before and kind of what you thought about everything.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. I'd been wanting to try to get on the show for a while. Felt like I need to grow a little bit to make it worth their while as well. But I reached out to Lafayette, who's the creative director and does all the recording, probably back in July, and asked him, "Hey, what do I need to do to get on the show?" And he sent me a form. I filled it out, just kind of told him what I was about. We had some back and forth. We thought we were going to do it in August, but it ended up being pushed here to September. And for me and the brand ATL Golfs, Whoopin' Wednesday really represents, I think, a huge portion of what Atlanta golf is. From the Black community aspect to the city courses that stay very affordable to make it more accessible. So I wanted to be on the show really to put a spotlight on them, and not that they even need me. They have almost 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So my little count, I'm not sure if it's going to make a dent, but I did want to do my part to try to highlight a local creator doing it their way. And I do think that they have something special um, that needs to be seen more. And I think with some extra support and a few videos that really hit, I do think that can be. I mean, I don't think there's anything else in the YouTube space that quite has the elements that Shelton and E and some of the other guys have. Just from the, again, Black community, the banter back and forth, the betting and things that are happening. I just don't see that too much in the YouTube space, with your Brian Bros and Grant Horvats and that sort of thing. So I think there's something special, and they're just starting to get on the edge of it. So just in general, in the lead up, I was really excited to work with them and be part of that.
You mentioned the Black creators. I think that's what's so special about Atlanta. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm so centralized to Atlanta, but you see all these Black creators on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, that are coming from Atlanta. We've got Plus Two Thomas, we've got Shelton, and just tons more. Stone Cold Wave, and I think I love that about Atlanta. Talking back to the history, basically, John A. White and Alfred Tupp were the two only courses in Atlanta that allowed Black people to play, which I think is crazy. And so it's great that you guys are jumping back to John A. White. I want to talk more about the banter and the betting. Before this episode drops, I want to know, did you talk any trash or did you lose any money or did you win any money?
So they asked ahead of time if we wanted to do some betting. As a father of two kids under 3 and currently saving to buy a house and the overheads of running a golf brand now, I asked, would it be okay if I didn't partake in the betting? And Shelton was very understanding. I think he and E had some side bets going on, so it was every man for himself. So it was 1v1, v1, v1, v1. My guy Scotty came out to kind of play alongside with me. You can follow him, Scotty Not Scheffler, on Instagram, and so that was fun having him out too. And so yeah, didn't partake. And I'm glad I didn't, because I would have lost the money. I'm not a betting type. It puts too much pressure on me. I end up swinging harder, and that's not. I don't play well. I'm not. Some people, they need a little extra juice that gets them going and gets them focused. I'm not that kind of golfer. I'm Mr. Positivity. I see the bright side. I keep my expectations light. And so when I start betting and getting into that, I tend to crumble. That's not my game. So if you
um,
want to beat me, in the future, Andrew, what you need to do is be like, all right, Joe, let's do $1 a hole or $2 a hole.
that's all it takes is $1 a hole.
All it takes, man, just put a little on it.
I mean, guys, we're gonna put Joe in shambles for $18.
I'm weak.
Oh man, I don't know if you saw, Roger Steele talking about another black creator from Atlanta. He just played. I forget where he played, but I've been following his Instagram very closely ever since meeting him at the Tour Championship. Just because he was a stand-up guy. I think he lost thousands of dollars.
You won't see that from me. See that from me. We're gonna grow the brand, and we're gonna do some cool stuff. Like, you will not see $1,000 a hole from Joe, at least.
And then you even talk about it with 2 kids, and he talked about on one of his stories. He goes, "I feel like I really set my family back through golf this weekend." And so it's just funny that you mentioned your kids.
Yeah, no chance. Now, I did partake a little bit in the banter, but man, even that throws me off. So, not to give too much away, but there was a birdie on the first hole actually, and I started kind of chirping a little bit about, oh, 1 under. Are you gonna be able to handle the pressure? And the next tee, the guy almost shanks it. So I'm chirping a little bit. And I shouldn't have been. I bogeyed the first hole, so whatever. But I was giving him a hard time to try to get in his head. And it seemed to work, but it was short lived because he definitely got back on it and had a string of really good holes there. So, but yeah, that was. And then as my game kept on and I kept missing some short putts, I slowly but surely stopped talking or chirping at least and started focusing on other things I wanted to talk about on the episode.
Curious, I think Shelton's a great golfer, and I think you're also a great golfer. Were there strokes given, or was it pretty even, just straight up match play or stroke play?
Yeah, so it was stroke play. And that's kind of decided right on the spot. I actually went into it thinking that Scotty and I were going to be playing a 2v2, maybe best ball or scramble or something like that. And when we got there, they wanted to do kind of 1v1v1v1v1. And I was definitely the worst golfer. And so that morning I'd played it well at 3 over. So I was with the mulligan or two, but I didn't get to warm up. So I was like, all right, it's not a quite super honest 3 over, but I feel like if I got warmed up, I could probably shoot that there. So I asked for 2 strokes. Probably should ask for 3 strokes in retrospect, but they gave it to me. They gave me some strokes, which was good. But the rest of them played straight up. The other 3 guys.
Okay, nice. Anything else you want to talk about for that episode dropping? I know, I'm definitely gonna say push for it. Everyone should go check it out. Shelton, if you've never seen him, his YouTube channel is ATL Swing King. Really fun channel to just watch. I think there have definitely been times where I've stayed up till 2 a.m. just watching all his episodes. It's funny, he's got an episode with Leonard, one of my golf coaches that coaches at Legacy. And so really fun when I saw that episode drop, just to see, local creators and people in the community just, point and be like, I know that guy, and seeing them, in my eyes, I think YouTube is the big screen. I don't watch a lot of Netflix. I don't watch a lot of movies. And so YouTube is my big screen at home for me.
Yeah, I think the only thing worth mentioning about the episode is, we talked a little bit on this episode about, the fields and ranking that, but you'll see me in that episode talking about how I go about my my course reviews, what I'm looking for. I'll point things out, and obviously you're going to be able to watch me play that course and listen to me talk about how I would rank that course, and I'll have of course the official course review coming out soon. But I think that might be interesting for some people. A little teaser: I quiz Shelton on how many Atlanta golf brands he could name. I won't say if he did great or poorly, but that was kind of a fun thing to put the Atlanta Swing King, put him on the spot a little bit and see if he could handle it. And well, he didn't name as many as I thought he would. I'll put it that way. So that was kind of fun, and just being able to give the other brands, a shout out on the program, and stick around to the end I'll say that. Stick around to the end. The very last hole um, is hilarious for all the wrong reasons, but that's also good content as well.
Oh man, that last hole over there eats me up every time. With the newsletter dropping tomorrow, is there any local Atlanta golf news? Any U.S. Grint tours that you want to talk about coming up in the next month?
Yeah, definitely. So, one thing just in general, if you're not following my account and looking at my stories, I tend to post stories about different tournaments and things coming up. But and I would also highly recommend using ChatGPT. I literally just put ChatGPT charity tournaments in Atlanta Golf next month, and it listed out almost a dozen. So I'll spare you and won't go list by list of every single one of those, but that's a great way to find different golf tournaments. I mean, literally right now, October 6th, there's two October 6th, there's a couple October 13th, so on and so forth all the way through. Now, one I in particular would do want to highlight is the Nine and Dine tournament that's supporting Excel Youth Academy. Shout out to them for being a newsletter sponsor. But Sunday, October 12th at Sugar Creek Golf Course, it's a little bit unique, right? Charity tournaments are what they are, but this one in particular has a sort of gourmet tasting as a part of it. So you play 9 holes at Sugar Creek. You have the dining aspect to it as well. So I'd highly recommend it. I believe that you get drinks at 2 holes. Obviously, you have the charitable cause of Excel Youth Academy, which is supporting educational and development programs for youth. There's prizes, all sorts of stuff. So I'd highly, highly recommend checking that out. You can go to excelyouthacademy.com and find that event there. A short-term one, I posted actually on my Instagram earlier last week that it doesn't get much cheaper. So there's one October 13th at Polo Golf and Country Club, $75 to play in a charity tournament at a private club. I think their guest fee is like $80. So you're getting a discount on the normal guest fee of Polo Golf Club, and you're getting a tournament on top of it. So that's through the Love Caleb charity. So you can Google that and find that, or reach out to me on Instagram. So that one sounds pretty interesting. As far as AM tours go, the Grant just had, I think, their championship up at Brasstown, so I'm not sure if they have any coming up. But the U.S. AM Tour definitely has a stacked fall schedule, and so I'd highly recommend checking them out. I believe they're opening. Just taking a look at it right now. So they're next. Let's see here. Cool. So they have their fall kickoff at Currahee Club, which is an incredible course up north in the mountains, October 11th. And then they go straight the next day to the Katichi Fall Classic over in Hartwell. The next week they're at Heron Bay. The next week they're at Athens Country Club. And so they have 4 different AM Tour events this month that is looking awesome. So, and I think they actually might have me out to the Athens Country Club one at the end of the month. So yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out US AM Tour. And we'll probably do a whole episode talking to Ryan from US AM Tour at some point, just to talk about and educate folks on what all that is and what to expect and how they're doing.
That'd be fun. You and I both went to Eastlake for the Tour Championship, and that'd been your second ever, golf tournament you'd ever been to. And so I think checking out some of those AM tours would be really fun and just see how those guys play.
Well, cool. This US AM Tour is you could play in it. So it's just an amateur tournament.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So US AM Tour, it sounds legit, right? It sounds like,
it does.
Like qualifying type ones. And I think honestly their branding suffers from that just a touch. It seems like it's too good for the average player, but no, it's flighted. It's very similar to the Grint Tour in that sense.
Okay.
The way I think about the different US Tour amateur tours around here, Grant is a great one to just introduce to tournament golf. It's really low key. I would say US AM Tour is a step up as far as seriousness, and also just the amount of the quality of course they play is one of the best. If not
that's funny.
Best,
well, imagine you're like me and you're not doing too much research. You're like, oh, I want to check out this US Amateur Tour. Go see how these guys play, and then you get out there and you see someone like me duff it 3 times. You're like, what is going on? I thought this was like a qualifier for the Corn Ferry. Like, what's going
Right. This isn't the midday queue. What's going on?
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so but yeah, super cool, and highly recommend looking into that. You can just go to usamtour.com, I think, and then just find the local Atlanta tour and check out their schedule. You do have to be a member, and their membership I think is like 150 or maybe 140, something like that. And then the actual registration fee. So that's a one-time fee, and then they do renewals every year for 99 bucks. And then they also have a registration fee for each of the events. So like the Curry Club ones, like 140. But to play Curry clubs, usually about $100, I think, anyways. So pretty decent value there. And
Yeah,
obviously, at the high end ones, they can be a little bit more expensive. And
yeah,
so they have some at Legacy on Lanier. That's going to be closer to like 175, and so on and so forth. So
okay. Still good opportunities to play some nice courses, and if you want to get more competitive with golf versus other than yourself, great way to play under pressure and try to get better that way.
yeah,
Um,
people ask all the time how to play more private courses or courses you don't get access to typically. Looking into some of the local amateur tournaments are a great way to get access to those.
Yeah, this actually sounds super interesting. I just started playing some of the little member tournaments here at where I play at Dogwood, and I didn't realize how much pressure there was sometimes, like that you put on yourself. And so, good to kind of get into that competitive aspect. The game totally changes once you put that pressure on yourself. Just like you can't do a dollar a hole.
Yeah. Listen, honestly though, like the US like playing in the tournaments do help with that to some degree, but for some reason money just totally after my head.
um,
It's a money thing.
talking about money, I guess just free money basically going into the newsletter referral prizes. I want you to talk more about that for what the month of October has in store for all the newsletter subscribers.
Yeah, so haven't quite finalized the free rounds yet. I'm in talks with a couple different clubs, so hopefully to have that finalized. Just in general, though, what I'm hoping to have almost every month be is something that I can give you for one or maybe two referrals, and then depending on how much I have as far as to give. So, for example, if I'm working with a local indoor and they can only give me 10 bay hours, I might put that at two, and so we don't run out. Um, and then a full course. And so I'm trying to get more of the Bobby Jones, Wolf Creeks, the Frogs to provide those free rounds because I think people really care and value that. Next month, one thing I have secured, I'm working on some of the details, but secured in principle is Green Office Golf. It's downtown Atlanta. It's a little bit smaller indoor facility, but it's really cool and black owned. The girl that runs that is super nice and just all about Atlanta golf, and so deserves all the support in the world. So I'm excited to partner up with her and get that some needed publicity. I think because a lot of people don't even know it even exists because you see the Atlanta Golf and Social and Fairway Social and all the others, but Green Office Golf is I'm excited to partner with them and show them some love and also get some people checking out their spot.
Yeah. You guys, this is the ATL Golfs podcast. Obviously, we want to hear from you. So if you click the link in the description, it'll be a speak pipe. You can leave a 1 minute message. My question to the community this month or this couple weeks is going to be, what do you love about golf in Georgia? And then, what do you not like? I think hate is a strong word, can be very passionate, but there are definitely some things I love about golf in Georgia, which is, you can play all year. So for a golf nut like me, I can get 7, 8 rounds in a week in the summertime, and then probably in the winter, I could still probably get 5 to 6 rounds in a week. So what do you love about golf in Atlanta/Georgia, and then what do you not like about golf in Georgia? That's my question to you guys. Keep it short and sweet. You only have a minute. Click that link and leave me a little voice message, and I'll feature you on the next podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, please let us know what you want to see. And for the podcast, if you have any podcast ideas, answer the prompt for Andrew. But also don't hesitate to reach out. You can also reach out to us on socials if you have some ideas for the podcast. Would love to make this very community based and making sure we're talking about the things you care about. So, Andrew, is that it for the day, man?
Yeah, that's it. That's going to conclude episode 1 of the ATL Golfs podcast. I guess, you know, taking a little whack at it, see how this goes.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks so much again for taking this project on. The good news is that this is the worst episode we'll ever do.
All right.
Uh,
Keeping
so
expectations low.
hey, it's all right. It's our first time ever, so we'll get better and better and better and better. And please don't hesitate for your constructive criticism. But yeah, thank you so much, Andrew, for our first episode, getting it off the books. And make sure you connect with Andrew and myself. Our socials will be linked below, so you can reach out to us at any point in time with ideas or thoughts or questions. I get questions all the time from people wanting to know more about the Atlanta golf community, and so do not hesitate to reach out. That's how we build our community, is by that feedback and going back and forth. So appreciate all you listeners, appreciate all the Atlanta golfers, and Andrew, appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.